People of YouTube and musicians around the globe, if you don't know the number system, this video could be for you. Let's get into it. Is it necessary to know the number system?
1, 2, cha-cha-cha.
It's debatable. There's been so many musicians over the years and throughout history that didn't know the number system as we understand it and look at it today. But I do think in a modern context that it's extremely important. I think it's something every musician or every guitar player or whatever instrument you play, I think it's good to know, to be a well-rounded player. For those of you that are starting out on your journey of playing a musical instrument, or starting your journey on learning the number system in the first place, it can be a little hard to understand, and it's easy to get lost because you just don't know enough yet, right? And that takes learning. And this video is not going to be an end-all be-all. The number system is not something you learn just like that, right? It takes a little time. You have to memorize things, notes in your head, shapes with your fingers, all sorts of things. But once you get the number system down pat, it makes playing so much easier, or at least it does to me. All over the fretboard, things start to make more sense, and if someone just calls out something, a number, which we'll get into that, what that might mean, if they call a number out, you know exactly where to go if you know the given key. If any of that sounded like a foreign language to you, then this video could probably help you out. So the number system is used everywhere these days, but it's really important in Western music. I'm not talking about that kind of Western music. I'm talking about just the music we hear every day, whether that's pop, rock, country, blues, jazz, whatever. That kind of thing that we're used to. There is music from all over the world, right? And they use different systems. But as far as the Western system, this is your primary thing. Everyone uses this. Whether they know the number system or not, this is what we're all basing it off of. There's one prerequisite that I recommend that you start to work on. I really recommend you learn the notes on the guitar. When people first start learning guitar, they start learning chords down on the first few frets. And that's typically things like an open G chord or an open C chord. And all of these first few chords are based on the root note. So if it's a G chord, our first note up here is a G. Or if it's a C chord, then our first note is a C. Right here on the A string, 3rd fret, right? And so a lot of people start learning that way, and that causes a slight problem if you never go any further than that. So a lot of people will learn their notes on the E string, on the low E string, and on the A string. They'll kind of know, oh, here's an E on the 7th fret of the A, or here's an A on the 5th fret of the E string, right? And they start learning these things, but then they get completely lost on the other strings. What I really recommend you do, and you can learn the number system without it, but I really think it's beneficial to start learning those notes. I used to actually quiz myself. I would just close my eyes and let my finger hit a string, and I'll look down, and then try to, as fast as I could, find out what note that was. And eventually you start learning. You learn where, oh, well, there's a G right here, right? And so then from that G, you kind of know the notes around it. And then, you'll learn that there's a G right here, and a G right here, and one right here. And you start learning these things. And so whenever you need to go to a G note, right, you know where it's at. And I really recommend you do it all over the fretboard. It can seem a little daunting when you start trying to learn all these notes, because if you have in this case, a 24 fret guitar, and you have 6 strings, that's a lot of notes to learn. You don't have to learn them all right away. Just start working at it with the ones you know and start expanding from there. In the number system that we're talking about, there's 7 different tones.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, and those 7 tones come from the major scale. So that's one thing you have to learn. It's just, you have to, okay? It is the most common scale ever played, and it's one of the first things you learn. A lot of people finger it like this, or at least I did when I was reading out of Mel Bay books in the very beginning of playing guitar. back down. Right? So you need to learn that. There's different ways to play it. I prefer it this way. So if you learn that major scale, you can stay right here right now. You can move it across the fretboard later. But if you learn it in this position, either way you want to play it, the numbers work out the same. Okay? But it's pretty simple after that. You just have to put a number with each one of those. So in this example, we're going to think of G as our key that we're in. Okay? So we're in the key of G. So G is our first note, number 1. Okay, so then you just have to assign numbers as they go up through that scale. You got to know the scale, but you just assign the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we're back to 1. It's the same note. It just starts back over. After 7, it goes back to 1. So 7 different notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Okay? If you play it the other way, if you prefer it the first way I showed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to 1. So don't always practice it going down, right? And going to higher notes. You want to practice it the other way as well. So not only this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Also go the other way. 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Or if you play it the other way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And then go back down. 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay? So what I would recommend is play that, count those numbers out, and it's pretty simple practice. It's nothing that's mind-blowing, right? So just sit there and go through that every now and then. And you don't have to do it constantly for an hour. Just if you're trying to learn this system, as much as you can daily, just spend a few minutes on it. Just try to learn those numbers. So there are chords associated with each one of these notes in the scale, and that is actually a lesson I'm going to do next week. So if you are interested in any of that, then you can subscribe and follow along as these videos come out. But for this lesson, we're not going to assign any chords. We're going to assume that someone's just starting out their number system learning, and we don't want to confuse anything yet, because it does get confusing eventually, right? So we want to keep it simple right now. So if someone was to say, hey, what is the 4 of G? You simply have to count up. That's it. Just know your scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So that note is the 4 of G. So what you need to do, though, once again, learn those notes. Because once you land there, it's cool. You know what the 4 of G is. It's that note. But if you don't know what that actual note is, it doesn't get you very far. Okay? So you need to know that that's a C note. But if someone says go to the 6 of G, well, let's count it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? And it's easy to count up there, but once again, if you don't know the notes on the fretboard, you won't know that that's an E. You can also count down, and I recommend you do that. So once again, if you know it in this position, okay, count down from that 1. 1, 7, 6. We get to the same note in the same way, just going the opposite direction. Let's take that other way to play the G major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? That's an E note right there. Same way as this one. Same way if we count down. 1, 7, 6. All right? So you can just do that, and eventually you're going to learn. It'll happen pretty quickly that you may have to count them out at the beginning, but you will eventually start to just pick up that, hey, the 4 of G, if G's right here, then 4 is right below it. It's just right here. Or the 6 is here, or it's here. You can also count backwards from this G. Any G, doesn't matter. Kenny G, even. So it really is that simple. This may not be your end-all, be-all for everything to the number system, but it is a good start, and that's how I started. So learn that major scale, okay? Learn the fingering of it, and start learning the notes. You'll get there. Because right off the top of my head, I know that G major scale has G, A, B, C, D, E, and then an F sharp in there, or G flat, however you want to look at that. So you just get to learning these notes, and it'll be just second nature to you. If you enjoyed the video, then hit that thumbs up button down below, and please consider subscribing if you haven't already. And as always, thanks to everyone that's on this journey already with me. Be sure and be practicing that major scale and assigning the 7 numbers to each one of those notes. And I will see you next time, where we'll dive even deeper on how to get even more out of the number system. See you next time.